is game day in the National Football League as tonight the Kansas City Chiefs square off with the Detroit Lions. Welcome in to this live edition of NFL Daily as we are less than 3 hours away from the start of the 2023 season. We'll catch up to speed with the latest news and rumors from across the NFL. We'll answer your NFL mailbag questions that you guys send to us using the hashtag NFL or super chatting to get on the show. And then we're also going to talk about Mike Evans and potential trade destinations of where he could land. We'll go over that coming up in just a few moments. As we get this show on the road, shout out your favorite team and tell us where you are watching from here on this Thursday afternoon. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. Myself, Tyler Smith, Smitty in the house here with you. We'll introduce Smitty in a moment. We are here with you each and every Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific here on NFL Daily, our live edition. We're bringing you these live editions throughout the NFL season twice a week. We hold things down on Thursdays, Tuesdays, Tom Downey and Chris Daughtry hold things down there so you can stay informed with the latest happenings across the NFL. We get things going and have a great time here on the channel. Checking in on the chat, I see Josh in Detroit. I got Chad, a New York Giants fan. Mason, a Bears fan. Shireen, a Eagles fan. Got Ethan, who is a Seahawks fan. I got Rashad is not an Eagles fan. Very good to know. John is a Raiders fan. XD Gamer, Kitty Cats. Pause. Sven says Smitty. Shouting out Smitty already in the chat. You love to see it. What else we got here? Poppy is a Chiefs fan. Lennon says KC, baby. I'm reciting in Edmond, Oklahoma. Got a Okie in the chat. Good to see a fellow Okie. Yours truly from Broken Arrow. Raider 9208, you would have guessed, is a Raider fan. Radio, a Dolphins fan. And we get Sven shouting out the Eagles. I got Laura shouting out the Niners. Joseph shouting out the Chiefs, and Eldon is a Raiders fan. Give us your Super Bowl prediction and winner for this year's big game. As we begin a new season, we embark on the 2023 campaign. Smitty, I'll let you start. Set the tone. Tell me what the Super Bowl matchup will be and who is going to walk away with the Lombardi Trophy with the NFL season starting tonight.
It's a very, very interesting question. Hot off the presses to start today's show.
Coming in hot.
Coming in real hot. From the NFC side, as big of a Seattle Seahawks fan as I am, as many people know, I'm going to have to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think there's any way that team should not return to the big one. Roster's better than any in the National Football League. I can confidently say that at this point. They're coached super well. I know they lost their coordinators. We'll have to see. They might have some early season rust or adjusting to do with new coordinators, new systems in place. But there's just so much damn talent on that team that I think they're going to be the representatives of the NFC.
Okay.
And on the AFC side, I feel like we have to go. And I feel like I can't say repeat, right? Because that's just boring. If you actually put me in a room, put a you-know-what to my head, and ask me who it would be, probably be the Kansas City Chiefs.
So you like a rematch?
I like a rematch.
With the Chiefs going back-to-back?
No, I think the Philadelphia Eagles take it this time.
Okay.
If they were to rematch, then I would think the Philadelphia Eagles would take it this time around.
So I have the Chiefs coming out of the AFC.
Okay.
I think Patrick Mahomes and company's just too good. I know they might not have Travis Kelce tonight. No Chris Jones, obviously. More on that coming up later. But I think by the season's end, those guys are there. The Chiefs really evolve and come along that they get back to the Super Bowl again. I don't have the Eagles getting back to the Super Bowl. I thought their roster got a little bit worse this year compared to what they were last year. I think they're going to take a step back of it. Still be very good, but I think they take a step back. A lot of talk about the Niners. I think that team looks really complete. And I know that people are pointing to, well, you know, they don't have their quarterback situation figured out. I think Brock Purdy is more than good enough to get the job done. I got the Niners going to the Super Bowl. And as much as that pains me to say, as the host of Seahawks today, I think the Niners win the division and go back to the Super Bowl. Got to slap me for that one. With that said, though, I got the Chiefs going back-to-back. I think the Chiefs beat the Niners and win the Super Bowl and get it done. Mahomes gets his third ring and is on his way to being one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
What are the other predictions in the chat here? Lennon says 49ers, Chiefs. Niners lose again. Sven says Eagles versus Chiefs again would be nice. Let's see. John says Eagles versus Raiders. I'm pretty sure the Raiders aren't getting there. Wet Noodles says the Niners versus Bills with the Niners winning. Light Gaming says the Eagles are number one team right now, in my opinion, but Finn's up. Ethan says this channel is amazing. Ethan, you're amazing. Richard Lee says Chiefs versus Cowboys.
I don't hate that.
Mason says Dolphins versus 49ers. You know, if we took off, I'll say this in the Cowboys real quick, then we'll move on. If you took the star away from the helmet, if they went by another name, let's say that they were the, instead of the Cowboys, they were the Stars, just a different team name. Wouldn't the perception be totally different? Be like, wow, that's a team that is really talented. They look like a complete team. Dak's a decent quarterback, got a Super Bowl winning head coach. I think if you took the history out of the equation and the Cowboys as we know them, we would say that's a team that has a shot to finally break through.
Oh, well, I think don't take away any of that. I still believe the Dallas Cowboys have a chance to win the whole
Yes,
thing.
but I mean, we wouldn't write them off as easily. I mean,
Oh, yes. Yeah. We wouldn't be as quick to dismiss the Cowboys if they were somebody else. If they were the Eastern Oklahoma Mud Dogs, you know, like they would be a little bit more respected as one of those Super Bowl contenders. But it's funny that you say your prediction was the Niners. I think the Cowboys have a better chance at winning the Super Bowl than the 49ers, and I don't even have them making the game.
Maybe so.
I think NFC Championship is a very, very good chance. It's the Eagles and the Cowboys matching up to go to that Super Bowl, and I think the Eagles will take it. But
we're going to talk a lot about Mike Evans today.
Yeah.
And I got more on the situation that we'll explain in just a few minutes. But before I share my opinions, because I got plenty of them, you're going to hear them today. What do you guys think? Will the Bucs trade away Mike Evans? Why for yes and for no? Smitty, what say you on Mike Evans?
I mean, I think if they start, 1-4, 1-5, 1-6, like Mike Evans is going to say something to them like, listen, I won a Super Bowl here. I am the greatest Bucs receiver that's ever lived. And I will be, even if I leave and finish my career elsewhere.
I am him.
He is him. He definitely is. But the definition of consistency always played. And he went through a rebuild all the way to the mountaintop and now back down to the rebuild again at age 30. A lot of guys don't want to do that, especially guys who have seen what it's like at the mountaintop and they want to reach that height again. I believe Mike Evans will be traded as long as the Bucs season goes the way that everybody believes it's going to go. And, we'll probably see him on a contender toward the end of the season.
Sedino Short says yes. Kyle says yes to the Falcons. Let's see.
Interesting to the Falcons.
Lennon
I don't know
says
how
yes.
happy he'd be with that.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting traded in the division. Richard Lee says Mike Evans to the Chiefs. Could you imagine Patrick Mahomes and Mike Evans?
That'd be electric.
That wouldn't be fair. Daniel says yes. XD Gamer says no. Mike says yes. Let greatness reign. Tonight's game to kick off the NFL season is the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Detroit Lions. As mentioned earlier, likely no Travis Kelce tonight for Kansas City. Chris Jones, of course, in the middle of a holdout. Sounds like he actually could still be in the building. There's discussions that he might be in a suite because the Chiefs want him to still be a part of the ring ceremony this evening, raising the banner and everything. With that said, Chiefs are about a 5-point favorite. The Lions are a little shorthanded themselves for the first 6 weeks of the season due to the gambling suspensions. Smitty, I think we got a really good game tonight. I think KC finds a way to win, but it's not necessarily their best performance. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I like the Lions to cover, actually, this evening, but I think the Chiefs still find a way to get the job done.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of points. I think there's going to be some big plays. I think two players who I actually think are going to see a lot of touches, a lot of work, a lot of highlights are not the two quarterbacks playing who thrown for probably combined over 9,000 yards last season in Mahomes and Goff. I actually think the running backs are going to be a big focal point of tonight's game. Jahmyr Gibbs, the rookie in Detroit, looks fantastic. Looks like they're going to use him in a lot more ways than just one. And Isaiah Pacheco. The Chiefs are going to have to rely on their run game a little bit tonight with Kelsey out, and especially with Mahomes not having the most chemistry all the way with this, again, essentially entirely new group of receivers. It's not going to be the most fluid game for him through the air. I think the ground game is going to be where Kansas City makes their money tonight.
What do you guys got? Dustin says KC. Short says KC. Kyle says Detroit by 3. Rather says Detroit. Dustin says Kansas City. Wes Noodle says Detroit. Final question before we officially get this show started. What game are you most looking forward to this weekend? Smitty, we have personal interest in the Seahawks-Rams game.
Oh, I got a lot of personal interest in that one.
But in all honesty, that's probably not a top 5 game this weekend.
No.
But the game, like, if I were to step out of my realm of the teams that I cover here at Chat Sports and everything.
Go for it.
I would say Bills-Jets, Aaron Rodgers, first game, playing against a very good Bills team, home opener and everything on Monday night. That's the game that most intrigues me. But Cowboys-Giants is going to be fantastic, too. Rivalry game, 2 of the best teams in the NFC, 2 contenders in that division. Those are the games I got an eye on, but Bills-Jets in particular is the game I'm most looking forward to. What about you?
I know a lot of people are looking forward to Bills-Jets, and as am I. I mean, it's going to be awesome. And I think there's going to be a little bit more offense in that game than people think. Giants-Cowboys will be fun, but I'm not as super intrigued in that matchup as a lot of other people are. I think it's going to be a little bit more boring than people might expect. You know what I'm very, very excited for? In that noon slot, that Octo Box, one of those 8 games in the noon slot being the Bengals and the Browns. I think that is going to be a hard-nosed
Joe
AFC
Burrow's
North
first
matchup.
game back.
Burrow's first game back. You have full offseason, full starter Deshaun Watson.
Right.
And you have playmakers on both sides of the football. You have Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, DPJ, Elijah Moore's first game without Zach Wilson being his quarterback, which should be pretty fun for him. And then on the other side, you have obviously Chase, Mixon, Higgins, Irv Smith now on the Bengals at tight end. So a lot of weapons, a lot of firepower, a lot of excitement in that early window game. I think we could see a lot of points in that one, and I'm very excited for that.
Yeah. Let's see what the chat is saying here. Laura says Niners at Steelers. That's a sneaky good game, I think. Steelers are going to be better than I think people realize. Bengals and Browns, says Rashad. Kyle says Bills, Jets. Lennon says Bengals at Chiefs. Let's see. Lennon says Chiefs versus Dolphins. That game's not happening this weekend, Lennon. Hate to break it to you. Chiefs are playing the Lions tonight. All right. Some of the answers already. Let's go ahead and get this show started in a moment. Here's what's on tap today. The latest NFL news and rumors are ahead. We'll catch up to speed what's going on around the National Football League. Chris Jones, Justin Jefferson, some roster news to get to. We're doing not 1, but 2 mailbags today. If you want on these said mailbags, use the hashtag NFL or Super Chat. If you Super Chat, you get to the front of the line. Your questions get answered first. And also, we're going to talk about Mike Evans, potential trade destinations for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver. We'll tell you what those are, my top destinations of where he could end up if he ultimately gets moved from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll explain that and more coming up in just a little while from right now. Throughout today's show, we will be doing a team Super Chat battle. As you guys are in the chat and joining us today, if you send in a Super Chat, let us know who your team is. And these were the top 4 teams last go round. And here's how it works. Send in a Super Chat, tell us what fan base you're representing, and we will update the scoreboard throughout the show and put that in your team's tally. So you can represent your fan base and prove why you guys, whoever your team is, are the best fans in the National Football League. And also get some good juice, some good mojo headed your team's direction. So that's how that will work. We'll follow that throughout the show today. We'll see who sends in the first Super Chat. $sign below the chat box if you want to contribute. Great way to get on the show and also represent your favorite team as well. We're at 20 likes right now. Let's get to 30. We're about 60 people watching right now. I need half the audience to like today's video. I need 10 more likes, and then we can go ahead and get started with today's show. So go ahead and hit that like button, and we'll get started for our live edition of NFL Daily here on this Wednesday. Tyler Jones, Tyler Smith here with you. Got a big weekend ahead. Smitty and I are going to be live on our Seahawks channel on Sunday. You will not want to miss out on that. Even if you're not a Seahawks fan, come hang out with us for our Seahawks watch party against the Rams. Going to be a lot of fun for that one. Smitty, you excited? We got some great stuff lined up on Sunday.
I cannot wait for Sunday. It's going to be fantastic. My Seahawks are going to start 1-0, just like everybody's expecting them to. They might not lose a game, according to me, after that one. They're going to put up a ton of points. We're going to have a ton of fun. We're going to have a ton of drinks. It's going to be an absolute party here at the Chat Sports Studios for our watch party on Sunday. Can't wait. Be there. Seahawks today.
Join us.
Very excited.
All right, without further ado, let's get to our first segment of the day. NFL news and rumors is coming up. Send in your questions for our mailbag segments later. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbags. We'll bring you coming up later on. But right now, let's go ahead and get started with our news and rumors here on this Thursday afternoon on NFL Daily. On NFL Daily, we are talking Chris Jones, possibly a trade there. Justin Jefferson, the contract extension that he's waiting for, will he get it? We got some projections to get to. Also, a roster update of some news across the NFL landscape involving a rule change that could be affecting your favorite team. We'll go over that coming up in just a few moments here on the program. But first, with the NFL season starting tonight, let's go ahead and get that crystal ball out. What is your final Super Bowl prediction for this year? As the season begins, this is your last chance to tell us how you think the Super Bowl is going to play out. Let us know in the comments section who you see taking home the Lombardi Trophy. Let's start with Chris Jones, the man that will not be on the football field tonight for the Kansas City Chiefs as they raised the banner to celebrate their Super Bowl championship last season. He actually still might even be in the building, potentially in a suite, as the Chiefs would still like to have him a part of the ring ceremony. But nonetheless, his future in question. Will he get the new contract or will he ultimately get traded? That is the million-dollar question everybody wants to know as he continues this holdout. According to reports, the request for the contract that Chris Jones wants is around 3 years and $84 million. Chris Jones trying to be one of the highest-paid defensive tackles in football. Not more money than Aaron Donald, but more than Quinnen Williams. Here are some things you need to know in regards to this situation with Chris Jones. Jones has held out throughout training camp and into now the regular season. He said earlier this week when speaking to the media at a local charity event, if a deal gets done, I can get out there tomorrow. Well, deal's not done yet. He's not playing. Comparably speaking to Bosa of the San Francisco 49ers that got paid this week, people were wondering, does that have any effect on Chris Jones? He got 5 years, $170 million with $125 guaranteed. But according to Mike Florio of NBC Sports' Pro Football Talk, he said that Chris Jones, his plans for his contract he's not asking for an increase because of the money that Nick Bosa got. Here's the deal. The Chiefs don't have a long-term solution with Chris Jones as far as going forward without him, replacing him right now. If the Chiefs didn't want to have Chris Jones around, if they were ready to turn the page, they would have already turned the page right now. Let me explain. They didn't draft anybody to fill that spot. They didn't make any trades. I believe that Brett Veach and Andy Reid want him there, and the longer this goes, eventually Chris Jones has got to give in, and he's got to get back on the football field. All the pressure is on Chris Jones. It's not on the Kansas City Chiefs, especially if they win tonight and still play well, even without him. So I think he's ultimately going to be back in Kansas City, but we'll see how long this drags out. And if it continues to drag out, according to NFL Network's Steve Weish, he says that we could see Chris Jones end up in Seattle as a potential top trade destination. that it makes a lot of sense for the Seahawks to bring in the Pro Bowl defensive tackle. Here's what Weiss said in an interview with Seattle Sports 710 this week. Is this the year you make your move and do something like Chris Jones? It would make a lot of sense. It would make a lot of sense. The Seahawks are an organization that plays the long game. They play the fairways more than they play the greens a lot. The longer this drags on, then a team like Seattle, who needs help in the interior of their defensive line, could get him at a discount. You still have to pay him, but instead of maybe giving up a first-round pick, if this is closer to the trade deadline, maybe you're giving up a second and a third instead to bring him in, and you feel exactly what you're looking for if you're the Seattle Seahawks. So, what do you think? Will the Chiefs end up trading Chris Jones? Chime in, tell us what you think. Y for yes, N for no. Is Chris Jones leaving Kansas City? Tell me what you think in the comments section. Deal or no deal? The Athletic's newest NFL insider, the great Diana Rossini, reports that Justin Jefferson is very close to a new contract getting done to remain with the Minnesota Vikings. Rossini said this in her latest report in The Athletic. Jefferson has practiced all of training camp, trusting the team will give him a contract that could make him the highest-paid non-QB player in the league. I'm sure Bosa and Jones also hope to take that title. Good news for Kirk Cousins. I learned there are no concerns that if a deal isn't reached, Jefferson would miss games. Based on my conversations, this is looking to be a contract that will be announced and celebrated very soon. Bottom line is this for the Minnesota Vikings. Justin Jefferson is too valuable to let go of, to move on from. And when you're Justin Jefferson, when you're playing at as high of a level as he is, and I got some numbers I'm going to show you here in just a second, you can name your price. You're not going anywhere. He is going to be there for a very long time. Obviously, there's questions about Cousins and everyone else on that Vikings team beyond this year, but Justin Jefferson is a cornerstone piece that's just beginning the prime of his NFL career. He's not going anywhere. Today's show is brought to you by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code NFL Daily, you will get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free at chatsports.com/bet. You can bet on this weekend's NFL action, including Sunday Night Football. We'll be waiting all day for Carrie Underwood and Sunday night, as the Dallas Cowboys take on the New York Football Giants in what should be an exciting game on Sunday. The Giants are an underdog. I got to tell you, I'm feeling pretty good about the Giants as a dog. I'm taking the Giants, and you're giving me 3.5 to work with? That's easy money. Bet on the Giants, baby. Or bet on the Cowboys if you want to lose. Over-under, 45? I'm thinking the over on that. Get your bets in now, chatsports.com/bet. Promo code NFL Daily at checkout for the 125% deposit bonus. So here are the highest paid receivers in the National Football League. This is the company that Justin Jefferson would like to join. $30 million is what Tyreek Hill is getting paid, more than anybody right now, and you have to think that he would get even more than that and, as Rossini mentioned, be one of those highest paid receivers in the league. So what does a potential extension look like for Justin Jefferson? Well, our own Patrick Seatman, host of Vikings Now, put together this proposal for a potential extension for Justin Jefferson. And think about this. How about a 6-year deal worth $200 million with $180 million guaranteed? And we told you Tyreek was making 30. How about 33.3 for Justin Jefferson? Sounds nice. I think he would take that, and the Vikings would have their franchise player locked up for a long time. I'm expecting big things out of Justin Jefferson, too, heading into 2023. I know that we've never seen a wide receiver win the MVP award in the NFL ever, but Justin Jefferson's got a chance to be the first. He's a sleeper MVP candidate for me. And I think, last year he was on a roll, was fantastic with 1,800 yards. I don't think it's a stretch to say that Justin Jefferson could go for 2,000 this year. And if he goes for 2,000, I mean, it's going to be hard for him not to be the MVP when you set records like that. Watch out. Justin Jefferson, I think, is due for a fantastic 2023, and he's got a big paycheck coming his way. Speaking of the NFL MVP, who wins it this season? Does Patrick Mahomes win it again? Is this the year Josh Allen breaks through? Justin Jefferson or somebody else? Weigh in, tell me in the comments section who you think the MVP for this season will be. One final note before we go. The NFL's top 51 cap space rule is effectively over as of yesterday. And so this allowed several teams to restructure some notable contracts and open up a decent amount of cap space. Listen to this. Let's go through these teams one by one. The Niners restructured George Kittle and Trent Williams. That opened up $23 million. Well, meanwhile, the Ravens with Marlon Humphrey opened up $7.54 million. The Seahawks opened up $6 million, 6.6. The Bucs, 10.47 with Shaq Barrett. And then some other teams that made some adjustments. Landry with Tennessee, $8.25 million. Patrick in Denver with $3 million. And then Teller in Cleveland with $9.14 million. Now, as we read a little bit further, because that's what we do here on NFL Daily, is explain the why. Every one of those teams that we mentioned that made those changes and created a cap space, at the moment expects to be a buyer when we get to the trade deadline on October 31st. So watch out for all of those teams to potentially be in the market to be making moves here. Maybe even free agent signing still a possibility as well. You don't make those moves unless you're playing chess. You're trying to lay the groundwork for something else. Watch out. Let's see what those teams potentially put together, who they're in the market for, whether it's a Mike Evans or a Chris Jones, whoever they may be. Those are some teams to watch for potentially that could be making a move here relatively soon. Who's a player that your favorite team needs to add right now, whether it be trade or free agency, either one? Tell us in the comments section. Give me a player that comes to mind that your team needs to add right now. Give me a follow on Twitter at Tyler Jones Live for more NFL coverage, in particular on the Seattle Seahawks, talking about the National Football League each and every day. Appreciate you joining us, and I'll see you next time right here on the NFL Daily. All right, so that is one segment down. We have three more to go. Mailbag up next. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the Mailbag segment. And I know, Smitty, we need some questions. So, folks, get those questions in either way. And we'll get to that Mailbag segment. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat. And we'll get that started coming up in just a matter of moments. Who will win the NFL MVP award this season? Dustin says Deuce Vaughn. No. I can tell you that right now. How about the Niners, says JPP? No. Jeffrey says, this is the best host go Hawks. Jeffrey, I appreciate that comment. Smitty, with the NFL season beginning today, this is my second year covering the NFL for Chat Sports, and now I'm starting my 10th year of covering the National Football League. I'm starting to feel old.
Wow, a decade into this, you are kind of a little old here.
Smitty, you've covered a couple of Super Bowls on Radio Row and everything. What year is this for you now?
So I guess technically this would be year 3
of
covering the National Football League, because I guess I have done that before technically.
Hey, you covered the biggest game that mattered, so
Yeah.
You're on Radio Row. That counts. Let's see. Who's going to win the MVP this season? Daniel says Mahomes. Jim Hinder says Trevor Lawrence. Let's see. Laura says Patrick Mahomes. Let's see. I see another Trevor Lawrence in there. Let's see. What else? Who is going to win the MVP this year? Kyle says Justin Jefferson wins the MVP after 2,050 receiving yards and 15 touchdowns. Smitty, let's have you weigh in here. NFL MVP. What are you thinking?
You know what? Is there going to be voter fatigue with Mahomes? Probably not yet.
That's an NBA problem usually.
That is an NBA problem. Big basketball guys talking right now. But
yes.
No, they don't really have voter fatigue in the NFL. But I also don't think Mahomes is going to put up the necessary numbers. Last season, it was kind of like, we got to give it to somebody, so let's just give it to Mahomes. Like, he didn't have a most...
Jalen Hurts would have won it had he stayed healthy.
Yes. Mahomes didn't have the most jump-off-the-page season. It was kind of like some of those Aaron Rodgers seasons that he just had he won a lot, put up really good numbers, but it wasn't anything extraordinary. And they just happened to give him the MVP because he played every game, and he won a lot of them. And he put up good numbers while doing it. So if you're in Patrick Mahomes' position, it's probably a little easier for you to win the MVP than a lot of other guys in the NFL. I'm going to have to stray away from that this season. Screw it. Give me Joe Burrow to win the MVP.
You know, I said that Justin Jefferson would be a sleeper. I feel like, and granted, like, we've named a few guys, so eventually you'll hit it some way or the other.
Yep.
But why is Josh Allen being so forgotten about or disrespected? I understand that, you know, he didn't get past the divisional round the last couple of seasons, and, you know, he did turn over the ball a lot last year.
19 times.
A lot. Josh Allen, I feel like, is eventually his day's got to come where he has that MVP season, chip on his shoulder, something to prove. This might be the time Josh Allen finally breaks through.
There should be a chip on Josh Allen's shoulder. Now, I went to college out by Buffalo, so I'm very well versed within the Buffalo Bills organization, their fan base.
No one circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills.
Nobody does. And if there's any fan base that I've come in contact with that knows every little thing about their team, it's the Buffalo Bills fans. And I've seen this team rise up. Back in 2019, they made their first playoff appearance. Then the next year, they make the AFC Championship when they really weren't as good as they were the following season, in which they lost in 13 seconds to the Kansas City Chiefs in the divisional.
Yep.
Then they sputter out last year after Josh Allen and his girlfriend get into a mess at night. The police come the night before the Bengal game. He's not in sync with Diggs. And that game's also snowing while it's being played. So a lot went wrong for the Bills last year. But what I am curious about, because I think the Bills have had to get a solid wide receiver 2 for the past, since they've gotten Diggs. They haven't had a solid wide receiver 2. Gabe Davis, I'm sorry because we have the same favorite comedian, but, bro, not good at football.
Who is that?
No.
Who's your favorite?
Oh, Shane Gillis.
Okay, I like Shane Gillis.
Yeah, Shane Gillis. New Netflix special. Go check that out. No free ads, but he's a beast.
I think my favorite comedian right now is Theo Von.
Okay, Theo's great, too. Theo's awesome stuff. We see a couple questions coming in. This is awesome.
And if you guys think of more as we're going along,
yes,
send them our way. And we got 2 today, so we're not going to have time for all of them probably this segment, but we'll do another coming up later.
Yeah.
So
stick around, and your question might just get back up on screen.
Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag. Spending about 8 to 10 minutes here on the mailbag segment, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Tight end Travis Kelce will be out.
There you go.
Tonight's game, ruled out for Thursday's opener. Let me just adjust my fantasy lineup real quick because I got him in there.
We'll let Smitty adjust his fantasy lineup, then we'll get the segment going.
I will forget once I'm out of here. Greg Dulcich, welcome to the lineup.
Also, speaking of injuries, while we're on it, and we'll make a note of this when we do Ravens later, Smitty. OBJ limited today in practice with an ankle injury.
Shocker. The guy can't stay healthy.
So the plan for that, by the way, later, we'll just put that in the cold open that we're doing anyway. So we'll make it easy. Yep. But OBJ, something to monitor there. Luckily enough, Zay Flowers has been fantastic, and you got Rashad Bateman back. I think the Ravens are going to be fine. They're playing the Texans this week anyway.
Yeah,
they should be okay.
They don't have too much going on over there.
All right, mailbag time. First of 2 today. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on our mailbag segment. Let's go ahead and get after it here on this live edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports.
All right, here we go. In a second here, we'll get after this thing.
All right. Whenever Smitty is ready, then we'll get going here.
Okay.
All right. NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. It's time for one of our award-winning mailbag editions of the show where you guys send in questions to us using the hashtag NFL or super chatting. We react to them live on the program. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our questions this week. First question in the mailbag comes from Kyle. Kyle wants to know who's the best possible wide receiver the Falcons could bring in to help Ritter develop and help the receiver room via trade or free agency. I got to tell you, the Falcons, their receiver situation, I think Kyle Pitts is going to take a step, a huge step this year, where that shouldn't be too much of an issue. But one guy I'm sure we're going to be talking about a lot today, Mike Evans, is going to be on the minds of people. He's not really, I would consider, a potential possibility for the Falcons due to being in the same division there. But looking at free agency, I think Jarvis Landry is still out there right now, trying to find a home potentially. There's some names out there for Desmond Ritter to find that other potential weapon. We'll see what they do. Dustin writes in, should the Cowboys sign Peterson and Reisner in free agency to help our offensive line? You know, there's some big question marks on the offensive line for the Dallas Cowboys, and I am shocked that Dalton Reisner is still available at this point. I thought he was going to be signed all the way back in March. He's a starting caliber guard, and I thought he was just fine with the Denver Broncos, in all honesty. With that said, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, what I would do, I want to see what you bring to the table first. Let's see the product that they put out there against the New York Football Giants. And if they need to make a change, evaluate after this week or next and see how you look on that front. XD Gamer 22 writes, will the Seahawks trade Tyler Lockett? No, they will not. That is not happening. Not anytime soon anyway. I mean, Tyler Lockett's going to be around, I think, with the Seattle Seahawks for at least another 2 seasons, maybe 3. Eventually, we will see him get replaced by Jackson Smith-Njigba, and JSN will be the counterpart to DK Metcalf, but Tyler Lockett's locked up for a while. His contract is not terrible, in all honesty, compared to other wide receivers of his caliber and what he's making, and he's been consistently good, underrated. Tyler Lockett's staying in Seattle for the foreseeable future. Sad Dabo Sweeney. That's funny. That's a good one. Dabo's probably very sad after the pathetic performance that we saw out of Clemson on Monday night against Duke. Is there any way the Ravens could trade for Mike Evans? So you look at the Baltimore Ravens, and we got the injury news today on OBJ with the ankle injury. Doesn't sound like it's that serious, but it is something to monitor anyway. You bring Rashad Bateman back. You got Zay Flowers, who looks like all that in a bag of chips. And then Nelson Aguilar had a good offseason and is expected to be a very good number 4 receiver. Might be as good as any number 4 receiver in the NFL, realistically. The Ravens, of potential moves they could make, I know they've talked about maybe adding another pass rusher potentially. I don't think another receiver is high on their list unless there are injuries. If we see OBJ out for an extended period of time, or if something were to happen to Rashad Bateman again, whatever it may be, and the Ravens are in contention, then potentially they could trade. They could look at Mike Evans maybe at the deadline if they're not all put together, if the injuries catch up to him. But at this moment, though, I don't see there being any interest in Mike Evans, at least right now. Will the Buccaneers trade away Mike Evans? That's the question that we want to know. Comment and chime in. Y for yes, N for no. Is Mike Evans going to stay in Tampa Bay or not? Let us know what you think in the comments section on this possibility. Y for yes, N for no. D writes in, who is your surprise Week 1 winner? Very good question. I'm very intrigued about Week 1 in the National Football League this week and these games that are going on. And as I look at the slate and pull it up in real time, folks, I think the surprise winner of some sorts that I got my attention on, I would say look out for the team that we just talked about. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers very well could beat the Minnesota Vikings. I am out on the Minnesota Vikings this year. I think that defense is atrocious. I think they got very lucky in a lot of games last year. I'm a believer in Baker Mayfield. I think Baker is going to have a very good season this year. Mike Evans is there. Chris Godwin. They got a good receiving core. I think that the Buccaneers could go into Minnesota and shock the world and beat the Vikings. That's the team I'm watching for. Don't sleep on the Bucs to get it done against Minnesota. Daniel writes in, Aaron Donald to the Cowboys for 2 seconds. Could this happen, and would the Rams do it since they're going into a fire sale? Potentially. I think that when we get to the trade deadline, depending on where the Rams are at, and I don't think the Rams are going to be that good. I think they'll be better than what they were last year, but I don't think the Rams are going to be a contending team. And we get to the trade deadline, could be a fire sale. You could see Aaron Donald gone. You could see Matt Stafford gone. You could see Cooper Kupp potentially traded. They could move on from everybody when we get to that point. The Cowboys would be a possibility. I wouldn't rule out the Cowboys as a potential chance. I think there's going to be a lot of teams that would be interested in making a move for Aaron Donald if he's available there. We have a sale for you that you got to check out. With the start of the NFL season here, your favorite team has a number of rookies on the roster now. And what we're doing at chatsports.com/NFL jersey is selling all those rookie jerseys. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a great time to buy a rookie jersey because you get it for the very beginning of these guys' careers. And in theory, when they're a star in your favorite team, you have that jersey for the entire time they're there and beyond. So what are you waiting for? Get these now at chatsports.com/NFL jersey. They look great. You look good, you feel good, you play good. Get yours, represent your favorite rookie. Maybe you don't have an NFL team and you're a college fan and want to represent like Bijan Robinson if you're a UT guy. Get this jersey now, chatsports.com/NFL jersey. Check out our whole collection there at chatsports.com/NFL jersey. All right, GM Evan asking for fantasy advice. Start Sam Laporta or Kyle Pitts. I'm telling you, I am buying into Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts is going to take a huge step and be one of the better tight ends in the National Football League. Kyle Pitts has got my attention there. We'll see what he can put together. But I'm telling you, buy the stock in a Kyle Pitts right now. Next question comes in from XD Gamer. XD Gamer wants to know, can Levante David be on his way out? He very well could be. We could see him potentially move on elsewhere. I think that's a possibility. There'll be something to monitor, especially as we get closer to that deadline, to see if he gets moved. He'll be a player to watch on that front. XD Gamer, thanks for the question there. Time for a couple more questions. Let's go to Dustin, who writes, should the Cowboys trade for C. Jones? I believe he's referring to Chandler Jones there. And Chandler Jones, what a wild, bizarre situation with the Las Vegas Raiders this week, posting on Instagram, then deleting on Instagram that he doesn't want to be there. And the Raiders sending, what was it, a personnel, medical staff to his house and all that. I think Chandler Jones would be a great fit for Dallas. I think Chandler Jones would be a great fit for a number of teams. But I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't concerned about Chandler Jones's mental health, because what we've seen the last couple of days has been very sporadic and it's concerning. So that's something to monitor if you're going to take a chance with Chandler Jones. Is that regard there, taking on potential things to watch with that mental health side. One more question, I believe. Final one from T. Swift is tough with Belichick there. Ain't that the truth? Belichick loves Taylor Swift. She's a tough cookie. Will the Ravens trade Patrick Queen? So that is a fascinating question, T. Swift is tough, because I was convinced, a few months ago that they would probably move on from Patrick Queen if they didn't get a deal done, which they did not get a deal done, and move forward with Trenton Simpson. But two things happened, and I will fully admit I was wrong. But two things have changed since when I thought they were going to trade him. One of those is that Patrick Queen, despite throwing shade and complaining about them drafting Trenton Simpson and his contract situation and all that, he showed up to work, he put his head down, and got the job done. And so Patrick Queen has changed his attitude, and he's gone the right way. So that's certainly helped, and Patrick Queen is all in on this year. And then the number two thing that happened with Patrick Queen was that Trenton Simpson is not quite ready for prime time yet. He's still developing. They need Patrick Queen. So I don't see Patrick Queen getting traded at this point. What are the chances the Ravens trade Patrick Queen? Scale it for me in the comment section of 1 through 10. I'd give it a low number. I'd give it about a 2 or 3. I think he's back, and I think he's going to get a long-term deal. Subscribe to the channel for more NFL coverage. We got you covered each and every day on NFL Daily by Chat Sports. We'll see you next time. All right. That is 2 segments down, 2 to go. We're going to talk Mike Evans trade destinations next. But want to hear from you guys on Mike Evans. Will the Bucs trade away Mike Evans? Y for yes, in for no. I think that what we're going to see is that he ends up holding on, at least for this year. And then whether it's a short-term deal or if they franchise tag him and trade him next year, whatever it may be, I think the Buccaneers are, with how bad that division is, Smitty, with the Panthers, Saints, Falcons, and Bucs, all of those teams are going to have a shot to win that division, even if the Bucs just suck. I think when you get to October and that trade deadline, they're going to say to themselves, like, look, we still have a chance to make the postseason. Let's keep Mike Evans around. I don't think he gets traded right now.
Do you think that the Tampa will be in a position to say that we're trying to make the playoffs? Because
yes.
There's a very good chance that they start out 1-6, turns into 2-8. It could not go very well for them.
It very well could. You very well may be right.
You talk about that division being bad. I think they have the worst roster in that division. I think they're the worst team of the worst.
I think the Falcons are going to win that division. But I like the Bucs better than I do the Saints or the Panthers.
You like the Bucs better than the Saints?
I think the Saints are awful.
Oh my goodness. The Saints
every time Derek Carr cashes a paycheck, he's stealing money.
Oh, I love a good stealing money joke. Derek Carr is
going to be awful this year.
He's borderline stealing money with that contract, but they have such an easy schedule, man. They play nobody. They have playmakers on offense. They have good players on defense. I trust Derek Carr out of all the quarterbacks in that division, which is crazy.
I'll say this. Here's my prediction for that division.
Okay.
I'll go the Falcons to win the division at 8-9.
Oh, brutal.
I got the Bucs with 7 wins.
Okay.
And then I'll go with the Saints and Panthers at 5 wins each.
Really?
I think
Tampa
it's
Bay?
brutal. I think Tampa is better than what people think.
Oh, that defense has been crumbling.
You still got Mike Evans. I think Baker is better than advertised. Chris Godwin's there.
It's the Oklahoma.
Devin White is there. I mean, you got some dudes there. I think the Bucs are going to be better than what people think. I'm not even saying they're good, but I'm saying they're better. They can be contender for the division.
This is Oklahoma talking right now. This is absolutely Oklahoma talking.
Kyle says y'all are underestimating the Falcons. I picked them to win the division. What am I underestimating?
I underestimate the Falcons. Desmond Ridder stinks. He's terrible. He's bad. I don't like him.
Kyle, I just picked them to win the division. I don't want to hear you saying I'm underestimating.
Yeah, it's me guys, okay? It's not all of us guys. It's just me guys saying the Falcons stink because they do. They do.
Let's stay in that division. Let's go Mike Evans, trade destinations. We're going to set the scene, tell you what the hell's going on with Mike Evans as well.
There's things going on with him.
There is a lot to catch you up on this situation. We'll explain that and more coming up next here on NFL Daily. So, Smitty, whenever you're ready, we'll get this thing started. So, all right, without further ado, here we go on NFL Daily. Mike Evans trade destination starts right now. NFL Daily by Chat Sports. We are talking potential trade destinations for Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans. He wants a new contract. The Bucs might not want to give it to him. So, with that said, in the hard deadline on Saturday, could he ultimately be moved? We'll discuss in a moment, but first, you want your team to win this weekend and get started on the right note. I need you to go ahead and like today's video. Here's the deal. I have a list of everybody that's watching today's show. And if your team loses, then it's because you did not like the show. Here's what's going to happen. If your team loses and I find out that you didn't like today's show, I'm going to find you and I'm going to give you hell for not liking today's show and being the reason why your team lost. So don't risk it. Like today's video, and we'll get started with more on Mike Evans. Here are 4 things you need to know on the Mike Evans situation. He is set to make $13 million in the final year of his current deal this year. Put it in perspective, Tyreek Hill, the top receiver in the league, is making $30 million this year, more than double. According to reports, Mike Evans presented Tampa Bay with a contract structure saying, this is what I am seeking. This is what I would like. And apparently he did take into account the Buccaneers being in salary cap hell, having some issues with what he's looking for in his contract, that it was somewhat team-friendly of what he was looking for. He will discontinue the contract talks on September 9th. That is the deadline that he and his agent have set for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to say, you have to get us a deal by then, or we're not talking money-wise for the rest of the season. We don't want this to be a distraction. The trade deadline is coming up on Halloween, October 31st. So that is the window. If a deal is not done and the Bucs decide to move on to potentially trade him while he is on the final year of his contract. And then on Thursday, a very interesting nugget from Mike Evans' press conference, as pointed out by Greg Allman, who covers the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, tweeted this. Asked if he'd still be open to returning to Tampa if a deal isn't reached by tomorrow, Mike Evans said, ownership and management are going to do what they feel is best for the team and the team's future. I'm going to do what's best for me and my future. Right now, that's just playing some good ball. And in a statement, he said that he wants to be there to support Baker Mayfield and put this team in contention to win the division. So sounds like Mike Evans is still going to play, but how long he's going to stay there is a whole other question. I don't think Mike Evans is getting a new deal with the Bucs, and I think you're looking at him potentially being gone after this year. Now, I'll say this. I think that we could see where he gets franchise tagged and traded, but I think the Bucs are going to be in a position still to potentially win this division. I don't see a trade deadline deal of sorts when it comes to Mike Evans. Maybe he's gone after next year. Maybe he's tagged. Maybe a deal next year, whatever it may be. But I don't see this all being solved. Mike Evans, 4-time Pro Bowler as recently as 2021. He's got a Super Bowl ring. And he's also an NFL record holder. Holds the record for most consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons to start a career. 9 in a row, including last year. So Mike Evans is as good as they get. The numbers back that up as well with over 1,100 yards last year, 6 touchdowns, 14.6 yards of reception. Mike Evans is very, very good, still playing well at this point in his career. So before we get to the trade destinations, what are the chances that Mike Evans gets traded? Scale it for me in the comment section 1 through 10 on our pinned comment today. If you think Mike Evans gets traded or not, scale it for me. 10 being very likely, 1 being not likely. Let us know what you think. Now, to the top destinations. Let's begin with the New York Football Giants. I have the Giants as the top destination where Evans could go if there is a trade. And there's a few reasons why I point to the New York Giants here. The Giants have been making aggressive moves all offseason with bringing in Darren Waller, with Isaiah Simmons and others here. The Giants, respect to Joe Shane and company here, they are putting in the work to try to take that next step and compete at a high level. Their current wide receivers like Sterling Shepard and others have a bit of injury history. They haven't been known necessarily to stay healthy, and They might be shopping for a receiver come that trade deadline. And you talk about an impact, immediately Mike Evans would walk into New York and be Daniel Jones' top target. He would right away jump right up the depth chart and be the guy to turn to in that New York Football Giants receiving corps. You can see, here's how their depth chart stands right now. And there's a lot of excitement about Jalen Hyatt. You get Slayton, Campbell, and Hodgins, but it's not that great of a receiver room if we're going to be honest with you. Mike Evans could really just turn that thing around and be a huge help for Daniel Jones. What about the Giants? Do you think they trade for Mike Evans? Weigh in. Tell me what you think. Y for yes, in for no. Could he be headed to New York? Let me know what you think. Next on the list is the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick and company with a lot of pressure entering 2023 as they try to compete in a very tough AFC East. They missed out on DeAndre Hopkins, which they had their eyes on. Sounded like they were very close to bringing in. They also missed out on Dalvin Cook, ultimately ended up with Ezekiel Elliott. Tyquan Thornton is on IR, the short-term IR, that is. He's out at least 4 games, but who knows if that could potentially be longer. And we've heard rumblings that Bill O'Brien wanted to upgrade that receiving corps, that the thought is in New England that the Patriots receiving corps is good, but it's not great, and that they're still shopping around to potentially bring in that great receiver to put them over the top. You look at the depth chart, and you can see Juju, not bad. Devontae Parker, not bad. Kendrick Bourne, also solid receiver, had a very good preseason and looked similar to what he did a couple of years ago. And the rookies have looked good in camp. Demario Douglas and Keyshawn Butte. But even with all that said, good but not great. And in a prove-it year for Mac Jones, you need to get him all the help he can. Today's show is brought to you by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code NFL Daily, you can get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free at chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily. We were talking about the Bucs. They enter this weekend as an underdog against the Minnesota Vikings. I got to tell you, I'm taking the points. Give me the Bucs, the cover 6. I think the Bucs might even win outright potentially. Should be a better game than I think what people think. Bucs and Vikings. Bucs 6-point underdog. Over under 45.5. Get your bets in today. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily for this game as well as other NFL action this weekend. Next on the list, the one and only, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have been the darlings of the NFL the last few seasons. And you got to give credit to Brett Veach, Andy Reid. That entire organization has done a terrific job. And one of the top reasons why they have been successful is that they have a history of providing Patrick Mahomes the necessary weapons, even when it has cost them. When Patrick Mahomes told them to draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that didn't necessarily work out, but they kept their quarterback happy. They didn't have an Aaron Rodgers situation like Green Bay, but they have a great track record of doing that. This could fall in line with that once again and give him his new go-to franchise receiver for years to come. The Chiefs are in win-now mode. Coming off a Super Bowl, Mahomes has got 2 rings, looking for a 3rd this year. The Chiefs, you're looking at this team, and if anyone's going to be aggressive and say we need to do what we can to cement our place, watch out. The Chiefs are trying to continue what they have. Because think about this real quick before I get to my next point here. The Chiefs, I think if we were to look at just the roster, despite them being the Super Bowl favorites, 1-53, the Chiefs don't have the best roster in football. They might not even have the second best roster, but they have Patrick Mahomes. They need to capitalize on that as they're in win-now mode. And then the other thing to monitor, the knee injury with Travis Kelce. It kept him out of Thursday night's game, but it's not expected to be a long-term problem. But what if it gets worse? What if he gets hurt again? If you don't have Travis Kelce, then this offense cannot function properly. Travis Kelce covers for a lot with this Chiefs offense. If he's not there, could be something to monitor. We'll see. What team is most likely to trade for Mike Evans? I've given you a few teams. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Give me the team that you believe is the most likely to trade for Mike Evans, and let me know what you think in the comment section. All right, next up on our list, let's go to the one and only Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns, this is a team that has kind of been forgotten about of some sorts. You look at the Cleveland Browns, and you have Deshaun Watson, who's had a full offseason, got a full season ahead coming up. But they're projected to finish fourth in their division? It's a make or break year for Kevin Stefanski, their head coach. What about bringing him to Cleveland potentially? When it comes to the money, they have the cap space to absorb Evans' contract. They could afford this despite all that money they're paying to Deshaun. They also don't really have a true number 2 receiver to go alongside Amari Cooper. Now, he would be the 1 and Cooper would be the 2. But trying to find that partner for Amari Cooper, these two could be on the same page. And then this is a Browns team, despite being picked to finish 3rd or 4th in the division, that still means you're a contender for the wild card in the AFC. And there's a lot of teams that are going to be making a case for those final wild card spots right there in their own division. The Steelers and the Ravens. You talk about the Chargers, the Dolphins, the Jets, a number of teams there. They need to find a way to separate themselves. You look at their depth chart, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore, Marquise Goodwin. That's not going to get the job done. The fact of the matter is, the Browns are not good enough right now. Could that change? Could Mike Evans be a difference maker? Potentially, but at the moment, the Browns aren't good enough to be a playoff team. Last on the list, the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions fascinate me. This is a team that is the favorites to win the NFC North this year. A lot of hype, a lot of expectation, probably more than I've ever seen my entire lifetime for the Detroit Lions. And they need a second option besides St. Brown. They need some help for Jared Goff to really push that offense and to get that thing going. And when you talk about money, if teams that can afford to make a move, I thought that they'd be a contender to get DeAndre Hopkins because of the way their money is at right now. Get this. Going into next year, they have $68 million in cap space. The Lions are one of the best situations, I think, for a player that wants to be on a contending team and get paid, because they are one of the few teams that can offer both. The depth chart, as you can see, Josh Reynolds, Marvin Jones Jr., St. Brown and company. That would be very intriguing to add Mike Evans to the fold and see that Lions team really take the next step forward. I think personally that when it all comes down to it, Mike Evans, I would give about a 3rd-round grade pick-wise for a potential deal for somebody out there. Would you trade a 3rd-round pick for Mike Evans at this point in his career? Taking on, that contract, having to get him paid, and being a little bit older now, would you trade a 3rd-round pick for Mike Evans if you were a GM for your favorite team? Type T for trade, P for pass, let me know. For more NFL coverage, we have you covered here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports each and every day. Subscribe now for free, and we'll see you next time here on the channel. All right, one more segment. Our final mailbag is next. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag segment. While we wait on the final mailbag, as you guys get your questions in, what team is the most likely to trade for Mike Evans? Smitty, I gave my teams. Now I want to hear from you, whether it's one of those or somebody else. Who do you think is most likely to make a move?
Well, I think it's got to be a contender, right? All the teams you listed are in the business of trying to contend. I'm not saying all of them will be. But
I think Kansas City is the only contender of those 5.
Kansas City's a real good option. Do they want to pay Mike Evans? Excuse me.
They haven't even paid Chris Jones yet.
Yeah, they can't even pay their own players. They want to pay somebody else. I don't know about that. But I think the Giants are actually the front runner here, in my opinion. I think they have a clear hole at wide receiver 1. They got a lot of good, not great guys on the outside there. You got Darren Waller, but Mike Evans would really take that offense to the next level. Daniel Jones has one of the most underrated deep balls in the NFL, and a guy like Mike Evans would be pretty good to be throwing sideline to sideline with. I would see him as the New York Giants, my most likely destination out of those 5.
So what team most likely to trade for Mike Evans? Checking in the chat. Dustin says the Chiefs. I see Kyle says the Bills. Also the Chiefs report checking in the chat saying Chiefs. Okay. What else? I see XD Gamer saying Browns. The Browns is the one that might be of that list the most intriguing because that's a team that I feel like we just don't know a whole lot about. Think about this, Smitty, before we move on here. As Robert says, the Falcons. I don't think there's going to be an intra-division trade there. But think about this. With the Cleveland Browns last year, Deshaun Watson did not play good. Everyone's talking about Russell Wilson, how much he struggled. Deshaun Watson was almost as bad as Russ, just a smaller sample size because of the, 11, 12 games he missed last year. The Browns with Stefanski on the hot seat entering this season. They're going all in. Watson's got something to prove. You got Amari Cooper there. You probably need another guy. I think if you add in Mike Evans in a tough division there, all of a sudden the Browns become a whole lot more interesting.
Yeah, the Browns have one of the weirdest floor ceilings in the NFL. I think they could be really bad. I think Deshaun Watson, if he doesn't figure out how to play football like he used to.
Do you think he will?
I do believe he will. I think it's more likely that this past season was a fluke rather than the 3 to 4 years before that.
Yeah.
Because he was super dynamic in Houston, man, and like I hate talking crazy, like talking cool about Deshaun Watson. Like, yeah, I know he's not a cool guy, but like at this point, he's playing football, so I'm gonna judge the football player on the field, and I think he's a pretty damn good one. Not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. XD Gamer says Browns or Niners. Kyle says I do like him going to the 49ers. Let's see some of the answers there. We need some questions for our final mailbag segment. Yeah. Hashtag NFL or a super chat to get those questions in. I see Dustin's got a question. Robert's got a question. Keep sending those in as we begin that final segment coming up in just a moment. Get those questions in. We'll answer them in this segment that we'll do to wrap up the week here on NFL Daily. Smitty, you and I now, with the NFL season starting, our schedule now adjusts. We work Sunday through Thursday. This is our Friday now.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to end our weeks is with NFL Daily, with the NFL fans. I'm fired up for the weekend.
I'm fired up for the weekend as well. We used to call this Friday Junior in college, Thursday nights. Now it's really our Friday, and yeah, I'm very excited to get this NFL season rolling. Excited to work on Sundays, and excited to still have that real weekend feel with the 2 days off in a row.
Right.
If I didn't, I might go crazy. I don't know.
Tonight, I believe we're starting out the season with some B-dubs and Chiefs-Lions tonight.
Yeah.
And then
a lot going on.
Our Chiefs and Lions channels will be live this evening as well. Check out their watch parties. We got our guy Micro Mike on our Lions channel is going to be live, and then Jace Andrews, one of our newest employees over in the Chiefs report, he'll be live as well. So look forward to that this evening for our two watch parties to begin the 2023 NFL season. Mailbag segment up next. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat. $ below the chat box. And you guys can get your questions in as we get this show started here today. And go ahead and continue to, if you think of questions as we're going along, to ask us, then send them our way as we get fired up and get going here. What team is most likely to trade for Mike Evans? We asked you that earlier. What else do you guys have for us for this next mailbag segment? If you think of more questions as we're going along, send them our way. Some follow-up questions, whatever it may be. I know we need some more. I'm checking in the chat right now. XD Gamer's got some questions. Robert's got some questions. Dustin.
It's interesting. Got a couple of fantasy football questions in here, like start sit type of deal.
Folks, like your season starts tonight. Like, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but shouldn't you kind of have that figured out right now, Smitty?
Yeah.
What your lineup's going to be?
I know. I got it figured out.
You're a big fantasy guy, though, right?
I very much enjoy it. I worked for a fantasy.
Kyle with a question. Thank you, Kyle.
Yep, Kyle. Appreciate you. You're going to get on the show.
You worked for a fantasy what?
Worked for a fantasy startup app. You know how like they have like Prize Picks and Underdog and whatnot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this app allows you to link your fantasy team and then bet on the matchups, which is pretty cool. They have money lines, totals, spreads.
Okay.
Yeah, shout out the guys over at Better Fantasy. I worked an internship with them last summer. I was making TikTok content and whatnot, and I kind of immersed myself in the fantasy football community that summer. So I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but I know more than the average when it comes to fantasy
ball.
football. I know fantasy ball when it comes down to it.
I'm taking the year off from fantasy. I played so much fantasy in my life. I just want to focus and enjoy the games themselves.
Yeah.
This year. I'll probably get back into it next year, but I need a mental year off from fantasy.
That's fair. There's been years where I haven't wanted to play as much.
We'll go ahead and get started. Mailbag time. I think we got some good questions. If you think of more, we'll get going. Then send them our way. Same thing here, about 8 to 10 on this, and we'll go from there. All right. Let's get after it, folks. Final segment, mailbag time here on NFL Daily. We'll wait for our graphics to get adjusted, and then we'll get going here. Kyle, thanks for that question I see you sent in. Robert, XD Gamer, and others.
All
right.
Here we go.
Let's get after it. Here we go. NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here, answering your questions that you guys sent us on our live show using the hashtag NFL or Super Chat. We react to them on the program. So, without further ado, need you to subscribe to the channel. That way you can be a part of our next mailbag segment. Let's get started with Kyle. Kyle writes in, would Kyler to Atlanta be a great fit for the Falcons? He's a great mobile QB, and Atlanta is one of the best running teams in the league. Kyle, you might be onto something potentially. Now, a couple things have to play out before we get to the bridge you're discussing here. First off, Desmond Ritter's got to suck, and the Falcons give up on him, which very well could happen. And then the other thing, on Arizona's side of things, Kyler Murray's got to look bad where they give up on him, and they might have already given up on him anyway, potentially speaking. So those two factors involved. And then you also got to factor in the Falcons taking on the contracted Kyler Murray, which is a ton of money for a long time. Can the Falcons do that? With all that said, you know, one of the best mobile quarterbacks of all time played there for the Atlanta Falcons. His name is Michael Vick. And as great as Michael Vick is, Kyler Murray, I mean, he's a better passer than Michael Vick ever was. Maybe not the runner that Mike Vick was, but it would feel like deja vu almost. And I think Falcon fans would be excited to have Kyler Murray in the building. D. Lunatic writes in, do you think Sean Payton can fix Russell Wilson? That's the question everybody wants to know. Is Sean Payton going to be able to fix Russell Wilson? And I'll say this. So far, I've really liked the approach that Sean Payton has taken to this, that he has humbled Russell Wilson. We heard him this week call out Russ and say that he needs to stop kissing babies, and you know he's not a politician. He took away his office. He's not allowing Russ to bring his quarterbacks coach in the building. He's doing all those things that should get Russ's attention, not treating him different than anyone else. With that said, though, I don't even think Sean Payton can save Russell Wilson. No pun intended, but I think Russell Wilson is cooked. I think let Russ cook has turned into Russ got cooked. I don't think we're ever going to see the same Russell Wilson that we saw with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't think even Sean Payton can come in and save him. I expect the Broncos to be better, and I think Russ will be even better than what he was last year. But it's not going to be enough as far as I'm concerned. Thanks, D. Lunatic. Trip Bayless writes in, oh, God. Will Jonathan Taylor get traded after he comes off PUP? He hopes he does. If I'm Jonathan Taylor, I sure hope I'm getting traded. Because Jonathan Taylor, as far as I'm concerned, should never play for the Indianapolis Colts ever again. He shouldn't play. He shouldn't put on that uniform. He should not walk into that building. They put him on PUP when he shouldn't be on PUP, when he's not hurt. He's not getting paid what he should when other teams are willing to pay him. And it's a dumpster fire organization. Now that he who should not be named is out of Washington, Jim Irsay is the worst owner in the NFL, and it's not even close. Jonathan Taylor, I hope for his sake he gets traded before the deadline, gets to play for a contending team, gets the contract he's looking for. He deserves better than what he's being put through with this Colts organization. I hope he gets traded. Will he? I'll believe it when I see it. I hope for his case, but we'll see. What do you think? Does Jonathan Taylor get traded? Y for yes, N for no. Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comment section if Jonathan Taylor is going to be gone. Robert with a little fantasy question. Who should I start, Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers? I got to tell you, I like both quarterbacks, but I think this is an easy question. Granted, I'm not playing fantasy this year, so I might not be the right person to ask. I'm taking the year off from fantasy just to focus on the games themselves. With that said, the answer here is Lamar. Lamar's going up against Houston. Not only do you factor in the passing ability, but the run ability as well, so you get more points in theory in fantasy that way. Aaron Rodgers got a tough task against the Buffalo Bills. I think Rodgers will play well, but I think Lamar going up against a worse team in Houston, and Lamar with all those new weapons, although he might not have OBJ, there's more potential for Lamar to play better than Aaron Rodgers. I'd go with Lamar this week. Len B. Who is the GOAT when it comes to special teams? Am I tripping for not thinking Devin Hester? Devin Hester is the greatest return specialist of all time. That is the correct answer. And I think Devin Hester's got an outside shot to make the Pro Football Hall of Fame. When you talk about special teamers, return guys over the years, Steve Tasker is another name that comes to mind for the career he had with the Buffalo Bills, and they'll be the first to tell you. Slater as well, another guy. I mean, there's been some great return specialists. What makes me sad as a football fan, just a consumer of the product, is how much the league has taken away the return game. I mean, we're very fortunate that we got to see Devin Hester when we did, because in today's NFL, Devin Hester would not be happening. He would not be able to do what he did back in the day because of how soft the league has gotten with some of their rules. So, yeah, I would say he is the best, but to take it even a step further, it's unfortunate the league has gone. I understand player safety and all that, but you've made it more of a boring product. You've made the kick and punt game useless, essentially. We're selling jerseys of some of your favorite NFL rookies on sale now at chatsports.com/NFL jersey. And the way I've explained it is this, okay? Your favorite team has a bunch of new players, right? Guys that you hope are playing for your organization for a long time that turn into superstars. And what you can do is you can get these jerseys and begin their journey with them. Get this jersey right now, and you can wear this for their entire career. A number of guys, from Bryce Young to Anthony Richardson to C.J. Stroud, we got all of them. Go to chatsports.com/NFL jersey to get these today while supplies last. Chatsports.com/NFL jersey to get yours now. All right, we continue in the mailbag. XD Gamer writes, is Jimmy Garoppolo the most underrated player in the NFL? XD Gamer 22, no. I don't think he's underrated. I think he's very fairly rated. I think that pretty much everyone is on the same page on two things when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo. One, Jimmy Garoppolo has won a lot of football games. I think Jimmy Garoppolo gets a lot of credit for the games that he has won. Although some would say that wins are not a quarterback statistic, you can't deny that Jimmy Garoppolo has won a lot over the years. But two, he's been carried throughout those years. That Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't always played great. I think most people realize that, yes, Jimmy Garoppolo isn't that great of a quarterback, but he's won a lot of football games. Those things are true. They're not mutually exclusive. Aiden writes in, who is your player of the game prediction for tonight? I'm going to say Kadarius Toney. This referring to Thursday's game, the time we're recording this. Am I allowed to say Patrick Mahomes, or is that too easy? If I had to say somebody else, and it's going to be funny because some of you are watching this later after the fact. Don't sleep on Isaiah Pacheco, potentially, to have a nice night for Kansas City because they need a lot out of him with the injuries with Kelsey and stuff stacking up. Kyle writes in, who are the top 3 teams to tank this year? Worst teams in the NFL this year. Let's see. Right off the top of my head, I think the Colts are going to be the worst team in the league. I think the Cardinals are going to be pretty bad. And then I need one more very bad team to go along that mix. Maybe Carolina. Well, I think Carolina's going to be better than what people think. I think Houston's going to be better. I think the Raiders could be that next team, potentially. That's what I'm looking for. I think that it's definitely Arizona and Indy is the 2 worst teams in the league, but we'll see how ultimately that plays out. Kyle, thanks for the question there. We got time for another question or 2. Let's go to XD Gamer, who says, will Calvin Ridley win offensive player or comeback player of the year this year and not DeMar Hamlin? I'll say this, and don't take this the wrong way, folks, but it's going to be very tough for DeMar Hamlin not to win comeback player of the year. It's like a few years ago when Alex Smith won comeback player of the year for stepping on the football field, although he actually played pretty good when he did come back. But just for getting back out there, that earned him comeback player of the year. I think in DeMar Hamlin's case, just for him getting back out there, it's already his to lose. Calvin Ridley, I think, is going to have a fine year, and I think he's a nice addition for that Jags team. But DeMar Hamlin's already won it, and the season hasn't started yet. Bob Marley, don't worry. Be happy. Worry if you're a Commanders fan, though. What are the chances the Commanders trade Chase Young? I think that's another one of those trade deadline situations. Where are the Commanders at? I don't think the Commanders are going to be very good. What are the chances? I would say at the very moment, at the start of the season, if they're tomorrow necessarily, they're not going to trade him tomorrow. But, 5-6 weeks from now, I would give that a very high chance because they haven't paid him yet. And they've paid a number of guys, and you can't necessarily pay everybody. So I would say the chances of them trading Chase Young eventually, pretty high. What team will Chase Young end the season with? Let me know in the comments section. Give me a team that you think he ends up with. Maybe it's back with the Commanders. Maybe it's somewhere else. Chime in and tell us who you think that team is. Subscribe to NFL Daily by Chat Sports for more NFL coverage. We got you covered each and every day on the channel. We'll see you next time here on NFL Daily. All right. There we go. That will do it for today's show. But as we're wrapping up here, will Jonathan Taylor get traded? White for yes, in for no. Smitty, you heard what I said earlier. For his sake, I hope he gets traded.
That boy needs to be a Dolphin. He needs to be a Dolphin now.
Let's see. Dustin says no. What else did you guys say? I saw Dustin said no. Kyle said yes. Donald said yes with those answers. Will he get traded or not? Let us know. Seen another question. We didn't get to it in time. Just didn't get there before the end of the mailbag. Aiden says, curious who your Heisman college football winner is.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up for you.
Aiden, Caleb Williams is the easy answer, and he's played good through the first 2 games of the season. Caleb Williams is the easy answer. If I were to take it a step further of a name not Caleb Williams.
DJU.
Stop that. Stop that. Get out of here with DJU. Man, that's a very good question of who that next guy could be. I'm looking at, I know that he threw a couple picks last week, but North Carolina found a way to win, and I think he's going to have a fantastic future. Drake May's got a shot. Drake May's a name to watch for, but it feels like everyone's competing for second.
I got another guy for you because he plays an incredible schedule. Former ACC guy himself, Sam Hartman over at Notre Dame. If he balls out, They run the table. Now, their schedule is super, super tough.
Jordan Travis, after last week, intrigues me for Florida
I hate
State.
Jordan Travis, man. I think he stinks.
He's like 60 years old now.
Yeah.
Another name that played very well last week, didn't really get tested, but I think he'll be tested more this week. Dylan Gabriel at Oklahoma caught my attention.
Yeah, you're always gonna put up numbers. Oklahoma quarterbacks. I mean, I don't care who the OC is. I don't care who the head coach is. They're gonna put up numbers there.
Quinn Ewers could put himself in the conversation with a win against Alabama this week.
Yep.
I'm seeing Travis Hunter in there. Man, playing both ways is going to really help his case. I loved what I saw with Colorado this week, but there will be bumps along the way at some point.
There will be. They won't come out of this all unscathed. I
We're
wouldn't be surprised if it was a closer game than people think against Nebraska this week.
Nebraska always finds a way to make it close. They just lose in the end.
Yeah.
Folks, we're going to sign off, but subscribe to the channel. I will put the sub link in the chat for more coverage. We got some great stuff coming up the next few days here on NFL Daily, so don't miss out on that. We also have college football and NBA content as well. Subscribe now for more NFL coverage each and every day at NFL Daily. He's Tyler Smith. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.